Welcome to the When They Cry podcast book club, part 2. We are reviewing Umineko. I am your host, Lorenzo.
This is Epitaph, and I'm your co-host.
This is Mushroom. I'm just here.
This is Dee, and I was eating when they started. I'm sorry.
Totally fine. Perfect. Well, and welcome again. We're going to go off of where we stopped last time. I think this is the beginning of talking about the Epitaph in episode 1. So if you're following along, we are currently at the part where the cousins are on the beach talking with Shannon about the Epitaph, and it's pretty mysterious, don't you think? There's like this whole thing about gouging and killing. It's pretty freaky and spooky. Yeah, and it says that you'll find the Golden Land if you solve it. So everybody's been told that, you know, if you solve this, you're going to inherit the headship of the family and the gold. That sounds pretty
Kinzo's been really weird
fancy,
about
right?
that. Like, why would he care about someone solving it and then, like, passing on the headship? You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's freaky, and it's getting everybody's jimmies rustled because Natsuhi and Kraus are all like, oh, we got it covered, we'll handle it. Like, don't worry about this stupid riddle thing because it's probably not real.
Yeah, like, let's ignore the fact that, you know, it would completely undermine us and ruin everything for us if it was real.
Exactly. So it's a whole ass mess among the Shiramiya family. Everybody has been like, oh yeah, we tried to solve it once, but, you know, we haven't, like, come into any big developments, so we decided to write it off as, you know, Kinzo's
crazy man madness, rambling towards cloud is essentially what the Epitaph is to them.
For sure. And they also bring up amongst the cousins the existence of Beatrice, the witch of the islands. You know, the don't go out into the forest, the wilderness of the islands, because the witch Beatrice is going to get you, or Beatrice, as Kinzo
it's the Italian pronunciation.
So, yes, Beatrice is going to get you. And the servants on the islands, especially Shannon, helps corroborate it, saying, oh yeah, there's like some sort of poltergeist going around, opening windows when servants think they're closed and stuff. And it really gets Maria's interest peaked. She's like, she's real, she's totally real.
Yeah, and she has all these like notebooks full of like drawings of what like she thinks all these witches look like, and she has
exactly.
Basically, she went through a magical girl phase before it was cool.
She's 9.
Yeah, but magical girls weren't like a huge thing really before the 90s. Oh
yeah, because Sailor Moon. Well, no, there were some magical girls that did exist at that point.
Yeah, but it wasn't as popular. Like I said, it existed, but it wasn't super popular.
It was 1986, right? Where we're at?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, what? 3 years before Kiki's Delivery Service. Oh man, Mario would have loved that.
Yeah, she was a pioneer of magical loving. So all the cousins are like, oh yeah, sure, witches totally exist, but she's really upset that, you know, she feels like everyone's kind of writing her off, saying, witches aren't actually real. But they make up with her, and she gives her cousins, I think Battler and Jessica, scorpion charms to protect them from the witch's wrath for denying her existence. And then I think a storm approaches, and they decide to go back inside the mansion. And on the way, Maria's like, what about my wimpy wilted rose, you know? So she decides to throw a tantrum over that.
Because it's disappeared.
Yeah, it's not there. She's adamant that it's where she's standing, even though it's not there. Rosa comes along, basically slaps the shit out of her for being annoying and not being able to find this rose.
Do you know how many
everybody just kind
Rosa slapping Mario gifts I have?
What does that even mean?
More than one, and that's a problem.
It's iconic. It's an iconic moment.
I mean, get used to slapping everyone, because it's going to be happening a lot. There's a lot worse things that Rosa kind of does, but we'll get there. Exactly.
She's doing it out of exasperation, really, more than anything else.
Yeah, she's like, my kid's so weird. Don't you know that it's weird to have a vocal tick and be obsessed with witches?
This is why you have no friends at school, Maria, basically.
But also, it is why she has no friends at school.
Yeah.
Yeah. She is a strange one, unfortunately. And you know what? The cousins are kind of like, this isn't our business. Let's go to the guest house and watch TV or something.
Do you want someone... if you were being slapped, do you want someone to be watching?
Yeah, which is what George points out to that place. It's kind of like, yeah, let's have her shame reduced somewhat. But at the same time, they could have stopped her.
They could have definitely
stopped her. Yeah, George's whole argument was just like, well, this is between mother and daughter, and we should really not step into it, so we should just return to the guest house. And then Valor just watches this mom slap the shit out of this daughter and then walks away. It's like the most awkward moment possible.
Honestly, I'm thinking it's because George probably had the same thing happen to him.
I mean, physical punishment is explicitly stated to be treated as normal.
Yeah.
And it was relatively normal
80s.
Back then, 80s.
Exactly. And so George is being like, you know what? I didn't like this. I didn't like people staring at me when I got the shit slapped out of me. She probably doesn't want the same thing. And I'm like, that's perfectly fair.
Yeah, and plus George is probably like, I grew up to be a normal adult man. Like, that's probably gonna be fine for
normal,
Murray.
Adult, and man, none of those apply to George. But we'll move on.
Yes, glad it worked out for him. But anyways, the cousins decide to leave. Rosa decides to leave to the mansion, and a storm approaches and starts raining down all over the place. After a while, Cannon comes to the guest house to retrieve the cousins and say it's dinner time, and he's like, hey, where's Maria? And they're like, oh shit, she's still outside.
Rosa fell asleep. To her credit, she didn't actively look, oh, it's raining outside.
She did not spend that entire time slapping her, which is nice, I think.
Yeah, she did actively leave because she felt like she would just continue slapping her. So she was like, I should go before I keep doing that because I know that's bad.
She's like, I need you to step away from the scene.
So they eventually find her still looking for her rose, but it looks like someone took care of her and gave her an umbrella. And she's like, or Rosa's like, oh, that's sweet of whoever gave you the umbrella. Who did that for you? And Maria's like, oh, Beatrice did it. She's real and existing. And Rosa's like, that's fine, honey. Let's go have dinner. So they go to the dining hall. Kinzo's like, yes, the storm's brewing. Beatrice's banquet's about to begin. Wahaha.
Better throw my ring out the window.
Yeah, why does he keep doing that?
He's a little bit nuts. He throws his headship ring out the window, and it begins. Beatrice's banquet. What does that mean? We're about to find out. So before that, Cross and Nanjo are trying to get him to join them for dinner, and he's like, nah, I hate y'all. Go eat your shit and leave me out of this. And everybody's having dinner in the dining hall. Rosa's like, that's funny, Maria, Beatrice, yeah, yada yada yada, gave you that umbrella, but did anybody here in this dining hall, any servants or family members, give her this umbrella? And everyone's like, no. What are you talking about?
And Kinzo wouldn't have given it to her because he doesn't like her, particularly, as Genji points out.
Yeah, he fucking hates her guts.
Does Genji point that out?
I'm pretty sure it was, the master is not particularly fond of Marie. I think it was once.
Yeah.
Well, how many
really
times
funny.
does Kinzo call her obscene to look at? Twice?
At least
more
twice,
than once.
Yeah. Yeah, can you imagine your grandfather hating you that much?
I mean, honestly, I would have thought that would make him like her more in a weird way.
Right? Because she has the same proclivity to inclination to like occult stuff.
Yeah, but at the same time, Kinzo is a sexist asshole. He doesn't care about what women thinks.
No. He's jealous because of how much better she is at him.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she is. She is actually. Also, she actually gets to talk to Beatrice.
Yeah, she's got the power, as we'll see later on. But yeah, Kennen and Genji are like, oh boy, is this the return of Beatrice? And during dinner, Maria pulls out a sealed envelope with a Kinzo / the head's seal on it, and everybody's like, whoa, holy shit, where'd you get that? Only Kinzo gives that to people he likes. And she's like, Beatrice gave it to me. And everyone's like, okay, really, who the hell's giving you all this shit, Maria? And nobody will come forward, and it's, having everybody in a tizzy, because everyone's like, what's going on? So Maria reads the envelope, contents and basically says, hey bitches, you know that epitaph thing? If you solve it, you'll get your gold. Otherwise, I'm gonna come by and collect things with interest. Sincerely, Beatrice, or Beatrice.
Interest being like everything, she says. Like, it's just everything that's from the Ushirimiya family. That's interest. I will collect that. So everything that they have is on the line, more or less, from their perspective. And they're freaking out because they're already in financial dire straits, as was established in their adult discussion previously, and they just stop trying to keep face and start yelling and being assholes in front of the cousins.
Yeah, so, they start fighting right there, and all the kids are like, I don't want this, let's leave. All the kids are talking amongst themselves, and they're like, man, adults, right? And they're like...
Well, Jessica's really broke up about it.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, well, I badmouth my parents all the time, but as Batless says, there's an innocent purity to her at her heart. She doesn't really believe their things she says about her parents, so unlike him, she's pretty shook up about it and has to have some alone time.
Yeah, and even George is like, hey, our parents...
They all suck.
We've had pretty sweet lives. Yeah, they suck, but, this is for us, I guess. So he kind of tries to assuage their concerns right then and there. And even Kyrie comes along and she's like, man, this is such a shit show. And talks to Battler a little bit about, what's going on. She's like, so where do you think this letter's coming from? Do you think there's actually a Beatrice on the island? Or do you think somebody's pretending to be Beatrice and, like, tugging our nuts, like, what's going on? And then she brings up the famous flip the chessboard, which is, think from the enemy's perspective, and asks Battler, like, what do you think's going on? Like, why do you think some Beatrice would pop her head up and start, fucking with us, right? And then, Rudolph comes along, talks to Kyrie and Battler, and is like, and parts with some ominous words saying, I think I might die tonight. And you're like, wait, what?
Well, he specifically says he wants to have a family meeting after the discussion's over, and then says that.
Yeah, he just pulls that out, and, like, everybody's, like, starting with Kinzo's weird banquet at the beginning of the storm with the letter and Beatrice and the weird murdery sounding epitaph. Like, everything sounds like it's gonna hit the fan very soon. So after that, we just cut to Natsuhi, who's, like, freaking out about the headship because she's like, hey, Kraus, aren't you, like, the next in line? Like, why the fuck is everything going to be decided to this silly riddle thingy? And Kraus is like, I know you're worried, but I think everything's fine. Let me show you, like, this piece of gold, this giant gold ingot that, like, is probably indicative of the 10 tons of gold that are somewhere hidden on the island. And she's like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell me anything about this? And Kraus straight up says, you're, like, really emotional and, like, a woman, so I don't think you should know anything about the headship. And Natsuhi's like, are you fucking kidding me?
I hate it when you have feelings, Natsuhi.
Exactly. I was like, oh my god, my heart, Natsuhi, like, BB, right? And then Natsuhi has her bruh moment. She's like, man, Ava shat on me, even my own husband's not on my side. And then she's like, I think even Jessica, like, fucking hates me too because I'm so hard on her. But, you get this heartwarming moment that happens right after where Jessica's like, maybe our parents are doing what's best for us. And, hey mom, what's up? Have this funny scorpion charm Mario gave us for good luck, I guess. Like, I know you're having, like, another migraine and everything's hitting the fan, but have this toy, I guess.
I feel like it's one of those awkward moments where she has no idea how to interact with her mother, so she just kind of thinks, you give things to people that you like. What do I have on me?
Yeah, I thought it was cute. It was really heartwarming for me personally, but the cousins, they all go back to the guest house. They're getting ready for bed. All the adults are arguing all night, and I think the kids the cousins invite Cannon and Shannon to hang out with them, but Cannon's like, no, I can't do anything. I'm furniture. As you're reading along, you'll know that, calling themselves furniture is really kind of his catchphrase. Actually, all the servants' catchphrases, but it gets kind of annoying. So, what about that?
Not Kumasawa.
It's mostly a Genji Shannon Cannon thing.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Which are the three
eagled ones.
servants that really work.
Yeah, they're the Eagle people, right?
Yes.
They're very adamant on calling themselves furniture because they're kinky like that, I guess.
And
So
the servants' rota to go, like, they were all supposed to be serving in the manor, but the rota's been changed so that Kano, Shannon, and Genji are all going to be serving in the guest house instead, reckoning that Kraus is trying to keep them out of the way because they are Kinzo's direct servants, as it were. So.
Exactly, yeah. But then at the same time, Genji's like, why don't you go to the main house anyways and, like, clean things up. So, on the way there, Shannon and George, actually, they sequester themselves out to the gazebo. And guess what happens? George proposes to her, and she's like, oh, what do you mean? I'm just an ordinary servant orphan girl, and you're the potential successor of a very rich family. Oh, I can't possibly do this. And George is like, as basically your master put this ring on.
Yo, how weird is that? Am I crazy for thinking that's fucking weird?
It's fucking weird.
I think it's framing it a bit unfairly. He goes, okay, you have to take this ring, but I'm going to let you decide which finger you put it on, if you get what I mean. So he's not like saying, put it on now. He's saying, I'm not going to force you to do this, because he explicitly says, I want this decision to come from you. Mm-hmm. So he is being a bit considerate, but at the same time, it is a bit, there is an element of, like, force to it.
Yeah, it sounded like, he was, playing on that maid fantasy. He was, like, saying, oh, yes, I can make her do anything I want, but I'll be a gentleman and give her the choice. It was a little bit strange, but at the same time, I guess it's fine if they're both into it, so...
I mean, Sayo has shown that she's kind of unwilling to interact with them in any way, shape, or form that isn't
Shannon.
Ordering
exactly.
around
Shannon.
to some degree.
Oh, yeah, and, well, they do reveal her name. She says, or George is like, I want this to come from Shannon. No, Sayo, your real name, right? Like, this decision is up to Sayo. So, you learn Shannon's real name. But, yeah, that's basically it. Shannon gets proposed to, and she gets to decide whether she wants to marry this fuckwit or not, and heads over to the main house. And that's
she
basically...
does seem pretty relatively happy about it.
Yeah,
she's
I mean,
pretty excited.
If you're reading this first time around, you I think the idea is that you're supposed to really think that scene is fairly romantic. I think it's it has its underlyingly creepy moments to it, but I think it's mostly a happiness for both of them.
It also has a very peppy music, a very soft music to it. It's oh, this is kind of romantic, yeah.
Then she goes into the mansion and says, I'm gonna start doing housework, but she sees gold butterflies.
I think saying, oh, she goes and does housework is a bit unfair, because Goda's just sat there and is kind of oh yeah, now that you're here, you could do this job, which is pretty obviously supposed to be something he's doing. But yeah. She just takes it because she's filled with happy feelings and emotions, and she doesn't have time to kind of be no. So
yeah, for sure. Love Goda and his assholery. So,
but I also really like the idea that how do I say, they already set up a bunch of character moments that immediately got subverted. The whole idea that they introduced oh, Rosa is a mom who loves her daughter, and it's a super kind and soft-spoken person, and then you immediately see her loses her fucking shit.
She does love her daughter.
Oh, no, yes,
she just
definitely
slaps the shit out of her.
I think one of the things I really appreciated about Umineko, that scene was actually kind of one of them, because having watched Higurashi first, whilst the depiction of child abuse in that is very interesting, they are treated kind of as absolute monsters, and it was interesting to see a depiction of an abusive situation which didn't just immediately paint the abuser as a monster, but as a human as well, which adds another tragic layer to it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of very sympathetic moments that Rosa immediately talks about how it shows that she's really upset about it, and then she also regrets it, and immediately when she finds Maria again in the garden, she just breaks down and starts crying, and she's I'm so sorry, I'm a bad mother. She immediately apologized, and it adds a very interesting layer to her.
Something that Sushi talks about a lot, another person of the podcast but can't record, they talk a lot about the cycle of abuse and how Kinzo, who did this to all of his kids, has created an environment where the parents, aside from, like, I think Rudolph, kind of do the same thing to their kids. I know Kraus doesn't beat Jessica, but also he doesn't treat women right. Eva controls her son to, like, take over to fulfill her own dreams. Rudolph's Rudolph. Rudolph seems like the most, like, non-shitty parent, other than he keeps cheating on his wife.
I think, like, Rudolph is like his... I don't think that's revealed yet.
It actually is revealed early on. I think so.
It is?
In that, Kyrie's not his mom, but...
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's very true.
Yeah, there's the whole upset with the fact that, you know, he remarried, and I think they mentioned that she was having an affair with Kyrie at the same time whilst he was still married to Asumu. So, and then there's also...
Rose, who just beats her kid as well.
I would just also quickly add that Jessica does talk about having been beaten with so I think it was Kinzo that maybe did it.
Kinzo?
Yeah, I
can imagine Natsuhi doing it.
Kinzo beats everyone, probably, including Jessica.
Shall we, at this point, move over to...
Spoiler talk, please.
If you haven't read past this point, piss off, because we're going to ruin the story. There's a lot to unpack here. You know, Shannon saying, "Oh, I don't care about gold," and you know, the truth behind the epitaph and what happens between all the characters. And they eventually reveal what Rudolph was going to talk about, which was Kyrie being Battler's actual mom. And I was so hung up on that the first time I saw it. I was like, this has to be the key to solving this mystery. But,
it kind of is in a way.
Yeah, a little bit, but it was a kind of a red herring.
I hated the part when, like, Rudolph was like, I think I'm gonna die tonight. I was like, I hated that red herring. I was like, you were so fucking on the nose. And I was like, where does this pay off? Like, Jesus.
Exactly.
I mean, it was so on the nose, I couldn't accept that it was anything, really. And then as soon as, like, episode 4 comes around and she's like, oh, you're not Asumu's son. I was immediately like, well, there we have it.
There it is.
Yeah,
now we know what he was going to talk about, and Kyrie's a scary lady, so...
Yeah.
That's very true.
I would say.
She also fucking killed him.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, I've kind of also suspected that something like that probably was going on, given that, like, Battler freaks out a little bit about it, but Kyrie is just like, he just says stuff like that.
He's a very extra man.
He is.
I also wanted to mention that I think it's really funny that Rudolph really went a completely different direction where how his, like, parents raised him. So, like, just like we said before, like, oh, everybody else is, like, super overprotective or, like, just, like, abuse their kid. Or not abuse, but, like, as in, like, just, like, scold their kid or, like, that's just how they deal with their children. And then Rudolph is like, when I have children, they're just gonna do whatever the fuck they want. Like, it's like the most dismissive way of raising a kid. Like, I imagine, like, Balor just got raised by, like, wolves and like his grandmother and father. Like,
he was like, what, 6 years ago he was 12, so he went through all of high school in, like, the country.
Yeah, like, and I think that's, like, a very interesting detail that, like, I rarely think about now, that, like, it's so weird that it's brought up. I was like, oh, he, like, really didn't, like, spend time with, like, Rudolph and Kyrie, like, at all.
Yeah, like, even from their conversation, it's very cordial. He's like, this is like talking to my friendly neighbor, but as you learn later on, Kyrie is like, fucking hate his guts.
It's really interesting to think, like, how much time he must have spent with Enja, considering that, because she's, like, super attached to him and absolutely knows him, and obviously he loves her as well, but they can't have spent that much time together realistically.
Yeah, like, I imagine it's more like a trip here and there, or like, oh, it's like a person that you meet, like, once every month, like, or once every 3 months, instead of, like, an actual sibling relationship.
Battler, stop having, like, very minimal interaction and making young girls love you to bits with that. Stop it. Stop it. You did it twice! And I bet he would have done it to Maria too!
Wait, who to who again? Sorry.
Well, it's Sayo.
Ah, yes.
Because he only saw her when he was at the with the family conferences, so once a year, and she was head over heels for him, and then he probably only saw Angela like about that often, and she absolutely adores her brother. So he clearly is very, very good at charming the socks off young girls.
Yeah, Battler's got the spice.
Well, should we talk about George now?
Oh my god, George.
Oh.
I was just like,
Georgie.
should we be talking about our hatred of George this early? And I'm like, yeah. But like, George has issues. George, boy's got issues. And he's a little crazy. Remember how in 4, he explicitly says, between like, his life, Shan's life, and the families, he'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna kill everybody else. We good.
Yeah, he's a male yandere.
Yeah,
Hate him.
Hate him. So
I'm not saying you shouldn't hate him as a result. He is problematic as heck.
Yeah, honestly speaking, like, out of everybody, like, I just find it so funny that Jessica is just like that pure, like that one person out here that's kind of sinless and just kind of bubbly. I guess her sin could just be like not observant enough. Like she's not as bright as everybody else.
Her sin is that she's stupid.
And like George is just like so fucking nice guy, gentleman-y, like, I mean, it's fun to, like, I guess, like, the reason why I say that, I think, like, the first time you're supposed to read that scene, you're supposed to be like, wow, this is romantic, look at this, like, a love between a servant.
I did.
And then just, like, rereading it now, it just makes you be like, oh my god, what is going on, like, in, like, Shannon's brain right then, when she was, like, taking this, like, she's just like, fuck, really don't want this. Or maybe I do, like... It's like...
Well, it has to mean that she can't decide. That's kind of the problem.
Fowler's first love was his aunt.
Shut up! Or also his aunt and, like... Wait, cousin? Yeah, it's aunt and cousin.
Yeah.
His cousin aunt.
Cousin aunt. Oh, God.
Disgusting.
Honestly speaking, if you are still listening and you're still, like, reading the series, like, you're only on EP1, you must be
Surprise!
so
Everything's incest! Surprise! Everything is incest! The answer to the epitaph is incest. The answer to how to get the gold is also incest. Literally, it's everything.
Yeah, everything is incest. It's terrible.
Just on...
You got the wrong... If you're coming in here for a battler harem, you got it wrong. It's a Sayo harem.
It made me so sad when I realized that the incest was real, because like I'd seen people theorize about it, and I was like, no, don't sink my ships, don't. And then it sank, and
I love the fact
I'm gonna ship it anyway. Fantasy ending.
Here's the kind of good dark thing about Sayo incest. Ain't gonna have any kids. So no more incest babies there.
No.
But, like, at the same time, you can be like, well, they're in the Golden Land, so then they could all coexist at the same time.
I mean, I would be lying if I said that wasn't the reason why I wanted to go with the magic ending.
The magic... No,
okay.
So the magic ending is everyone gets to incest. That's what you're saying?
Everyone. Let me correct what you said. I love that. Okay? It's not incest if they're not related, and they're not related if the fantasy version.
No, but they are still related in the fantasy version, aren't they? How are they not related in the fantasy version?
Because Shannon and Canon aren't, really people, so they can't be related to anyone. And Beatrice is a witch, so she's not really a person, so she can't be related to anyone. So they're not related.
And I mean, like, even if you even if you say, like, well then, and everybody's dead, like, well, who cares? Like, everybody's dead. There's no incest. There can't be any incest if everybody's dead.
For all we fucking know, no incest actually occurred, and all of it was just Shannon writing incest.
There's actually no incest. It's just Shannon just writes real life fanfiction about people on the island.
Oh my god, Shannon goes on Alabama memes.
No. No.
Hey there, Sayo cuz. Leave some cousins for the rest of us.
I mean, I guess there's one piece of incest that we can't deny, given that there was a child produced as a result. But
Nah.
it's the one bit we can't erase.
How did Kingsville fuck up all this? How did Kingzo just like... Wow, he should have just died on that base, man.
He fucked it up by fucking his daughter. That's how he fucked it up. Also, not reporting all the gold, really, to authorities, which he probably should have done.
You'd
given it
report 10
really
tons
his.
of gold? That's 20 billion yen.
I mean, I can understand why he didn't, but he should have by, legal grounds. I mean, that's like the property of Italy.
So, you know what's weird? He's
It's Nazi
stupid.
gold, it's fine.
He's stupid rich, but he can't even touch Jeff Bezos now.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Like, 20 billion yen is 200 million. He doesn't even crack it into the billionaires.
To be fair, that's not taking into consideration inflation.
Oh yeah, this is 1986
you're
money.
1986. The inflation rate was 1.131. You keep going. I'll calculate this. I got this. Don't
Okay.
worry.
I was gonna say, now I have
Okay.
like these weird images of like Jeff Bezos and Gingzo, like ex-Gingzo brain now. I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now?
I mean, also, when they talk about his net worth, then they're also calculating his assets and stuff, right? I mean, the island alone is probably worth an insane amount. And then there's also the investments he made. We can't really look at that because we don't know enough other than the fact that Krauss was embezzling, probably. Almost definitely. We don't know exactly how much that would have been whilst Kenzo was actually still alive.
Well, actually, still nothing. It would be double. He'd have 415 million or 42 billion yen. But that still doesn't touch Jeff Bezos. No, 42 million yen.
I don't think
420.
anything can touch Jeff Bezos at this point. Like, I mean, does Jeff Bezos even touch Jeff Bezos? What does that even mean?
200 million is 415 million today.
How much is...
It's wild.
Wild. Crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
What was JP?
But like I said, that's what he started with. Like, he's also done other stuff.
That's very true. I mean, that's just like the pure gold that he has in his basement.
Yeah, because they talk about, like, his special credit card.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. What else happened in the part that we just covered?
There was emotional heart-to-heart between Natsuhi and Jessica.
That's
Yeah,
cute.
love that one.
I mean, I feel really bad for Natsuhi because I was like, Natsuhi doesn't get any love anywhere. So, like, that's why I surprisingly really like EP5 because, like, wow, like, Natsuhi really lays it on the line. She suffers. And also, Krauss is such a fucking dick. Like, what is his
Yeah, for
deal?
sure.
Krauss is such a dick.
I was genuinely really surprised when we find out that actually no, they did, although it was an arranged marriage, they did actually make an effort and they did actually have an emotional bond, and then it just kind of got eroded probably by years of frustration of not having a kid. And then when they have a kid, it's Jessica, and she's just
Stupid.
not living up to their ridiculous expectations.
Stupid.
She's getting below average grades, how dare she?
Below average grade, she doesn't have any degree of etiquette, and they complain that she doesn't act like a woman.
And also, like, Cross is just such a fucking coward in a way. When Eva, like, shits on Natsuhi, like, he just, like, tells her to take it and go to her room. As in, like, he essentially just tells her to go to her room. Like, if you can't take heat in the kitchen, like, don't come here. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, even Natsuhi, like, breaks down and it's like, why don't you back me up? Not your wife? And then he's just like, the big kids are talking. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
also-
so shitty.
Yeah,
I
honestly,
also-
Nazi totally deserved to go on the murder spree.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
she kind of did.
little
Servant.
bit, yeah.
Sayo.
Oh, I mean, I guess
She pushed
I mean,
someone off a
that's
cliff. That
one-
counts as murder.
That's 1.5 at most.
honestly speaking, we need to make I know is this Sayome in the server who's like continuously talking about Rosa Yeah,
Yes.
right? Okay.
I could
so-
make a Nazi trees.
Yeah, so,
I
like,
love Nazi.
Oh yeah, did you know that Natsuhi's like original her sprite was
Yes.
made for Beatrice? Yeah.
Yes.
I think like I always think like we were robbed for like we need to have a Beatrice for every single adult, or especially the female ones. I don't care about if there's a Hideyoshi Triss out there, like I would be really like
I
mortified.
hate it.
Was it you or someone else who shared the
Nanjo?
Nanjo and
Yes.
Gaps?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I mean,
so gross.
I love the fact that they kind of like go like, well, Kinzo might have like sent out a servant dressed up like that, probably Shannon. But the way they say that is like probably. It's just the idea that any of the other servants could pretend to be Beatrice, like Genji,
Genji man.
or yeah, it's like I mean, the worst thing is I could totally see Maria buying it regardless.
Maria doesn't care.
She just really... Yeah, Maria does not see gender or age.
Yeah.
She is beyond that. She sees the magical truth inside your heart.
Okay, so one thing that it is known about Maria, which I found super interesting, she doesn't identify witches based on gender, age, or looks. She identifies it based on personality and how they act. So
Yeah.
the amount of times she says, give back, like when Rosa starts hitting her, several times Maria will say things like, the black witch has possessed her, give back mama. And I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are complaining about Beatrice like coming to her in the rose garden, and being in a dress, and I'm like, probably wasn't in a dress. They just probably acted like her and pretended to be possessed by her, and that's enough for her.
I mean, my theory is that it was just Canon on the way from the guest house, probably just kind of like, oh well, there.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Didn't even have to change.
Take this.
Just needed to act.
You, like,
just
put
needed
on
to
voice.
act kind of witchy and done.
Yeah.
That's not something anyone really in the family understands, unfortunately.
Yeah, nobody understands anyone in this shitty family.
Badler understands everyone.
I mean, Balor also
bit.
wasn't here, so he really messed it up by not coming for 6 years.
I mean, I think that's the reason why he can understand them, though, because he's coming from a slight outsider perspective and kind of able to
can't really see
things in a new light.
Yeah, you can't really see the problems of your life unless you like take a step back, you know?
And that's exactly what he did. And he knows it's all bad within the Ushiramiya family.
Yeah, and I also
ass.
I also
And there's
find
incest.
it and there's incest. I also find it incredibly hilarious that like Goda is supposed to be like the outsider person for the servants, but all he does is just bullying. Like he doesn't.
Well, also, he dies. He technically comes off as the villain of not the villain, the victim of almost everything because like he's just some guy.
Well,
He's a
yeah,
dick.
because Shannon fucking hates his gun. Shannon's like, bitch, you're the first to die. Like,
one thing I find really fucking interesting is that, like, how can I say this? They talk about at the very end in EP8 how the sins of the Ushira, like, of everyone's sins together piled up to create, like the whole murder thing. And Goda's kind of a dick, yeah, but he's 1, not incestual, 2, he hasn't beat anyone, 3, like, he literally is just the guy that just came here. Also, Hideyoshi?
Yeah, he's fine. I mean...
Hideyoshi supports Eva, and raised George, so I think that's kind of supposedly his sin, but I honestly think out of everyone that carries the name Ushiramiya, he's probably the most okay.
Oh, he's also a fake bitch with his accent, you know?
Yeah,
he's a poser.
But he drops it around people who have it
He
for
will-
realsies, so he knows he has shame.
He does freaking, he consistently creates alibis for Eva? And I'm like, is that good?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's a ride or die
because he loves
person.
her.
Like,
And-
I mean, like Hideyoshi's a ride or die person. Like, he like when he's gone on board of the Eva train, like he's not getting off that train.
If you think about it this way, if someone's already dead, they're dead. You're not bringing them back to life. But if you reveal the killer, then you're ruining that person's life. And if you love them, then you can understand that perspective.
Hideyoshi's very
But-
ride or die, you're right. Is the epitaph solvable, folks?
Apparently, yes, because I've heard of people doing it, but most of them were people who spoke Japanese or were from Japan, so
Pretty much.
they got the original. I remember there was like a big thing in the English fandom before we got the actual answer, and everyone was like, "Is it solvable?" Because we're getting laughed at by the Japanese, yo.
I think
They say it's really
I
easy,
think
apparently.
I think wasn't there people in the Discord who talks about like the other people, like some Italian dude solved it, or like I think there's definitely cases of people just like solving Epitaph in like the first 2 EPs. Like I think that's totally. I mean, I couldn't solve it. Like I looked at it and I was like, I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
The one thing which screws people over to some degree is the beginning bit, because I think the guy got really close. He got like quadrillion, but he didn't get the start right or something like that. It was something he got wrong, but that was because there's some information, like, you know, when you actually know more about Kinzo's background, it starts to fill in a bit more, which we're obviously lacking in the first couple of EPs. So.
For sure. I mean, I was so hung up on trying to figure out how significant it was to the mystery, but it messed me up and kind of like distracted me well enough to like keep me from noticing.
It really
like,
did.
what
It
was actually
really
going
did.
on.
It's a good red herring.
So,
because like I don't
Yeah,
think it's
for sure.
really because okay. So even if you solve it, what does that even fucking do? Like we can't confirm it because if we don't have gold, we don't have the chapel. It's
Yeah.
in 2, but doesn't talk anything about like the quadrillion or like what's even in the
No.
fucking thing.
I don't
I
think
thought
it
it
does.
did.
Might do.
Not?
I don't remember it doing so, but maybe it does. Well, we'll find out when we read it.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Either way, it's still like, I mean, why would you assume that there's like a special room underneath the island and things like that where it's all at?
Right?
I didn't even bother. I was just like, yeah, no, this probably has nothing to do with anything, and I kind of felt very gratified when it didn't.
Yeah, nice.
It's like my sloth paid off.
Yeah, even like in like episode 3 when they're like really heavy into like saying there's a solution to it. I'm like, really? Like, what if I like wrote everything down and like switched around some letters and I'm like, I'm getting gibberish. What's going on? It was really, man, good job, Ryukishi.
It's
with
a
that.
very
The important
clever
part,
puzzle.
I think it was at best maybe a metaphor or like a parallel to the mystery itself. I think it's constantly trying to say there are hints, this is solvable, without straight up saying in episode 5, hey, Beatrice made this to be solvable. So I think the parallel there would be Kinzo made this to be solvable, but to who? Because
Yeah.
in 5, Beatrice made this to be solvable by you, Battler. But Kinzo must have done it the same thing, so you have to think, who can solve it? And that ends up becoming one of the clues for the culprit.
Absolutely. Just the fact that, you know, it has to be someone who can access the household because they have to be able to see it. And it has to be someone who probably has enough time to review it potentially. I mean, you can potentially write it down, but, you know, it makes it easier.
If you think about it, it completely clears Battler as the culprit. If you really think about it, because, like, he didn't even know this thing freaking existed. And so he couldn't have orchestrated a series of murders based around the Epitaph so suddenly. This was methodical and planned. Like, if you look at any of the episodes, he couldn't have done any of it. And the amount of culprit Battler theories was insanely high for the
it's a fun thing to think about.
Just thinking about the Epitaph, he couldn't
It's
have
very
done
true.
it.
Yeah, I mean, he could be an accessory, but that's about it, right?
Like, he could have been, like, essentially become an accomplice. Like, somebody could have bought him off to be like, lie for us to do this, or... But he definitely couldn't have been the, like, orchestrator. I definitely don't think so.
No.
Unless you treat it like a mystery and think of him as the detective. Then it's a double impossible.
Is that why they introduce Erica as being like, look at all this shit I'm doing, but I'm still not guilty, so... Is that why? Yep. Oh, okay.
And then, of course,
That's
they make
cool.
the subversion of that in 6, where she's like, "Look at the one thing I can do because I'm not a detective.
I can saw off people's heads. That's what I could do." Like, it's so smug. It is such a smug moment. And she's like, "Look at my work," and then Battler was like, what the fuck? Like, after all, like, from the non-meta narrative, it's like, this whole family gets this, like, young girl come to this island, and then she's kind of smug and kind of pretentious, so they're like, let's play a prank on her by pretending to be dead so she could solve a murder mystery. And then her thought was like, hell yeah, let's just fucking extra gouge these bodies so I can make sure they're dead.
Let's go! So back on Battler again for all of this. 1, he can't be the culprit. 2, this is a parallel to being able to solve the mystery. 3, like, it also kind of absolves Hideo. Like, so anyone that doesn't understand the Epitaph or doesn't understand the connection with Kinzo couldn't be the curler.
Curler.
That's right. I like that one. But yeah, that's a really good point to make. Because, you know, like, who would go through all this trouble, right?
I think...
You'd have to be obsessed with mystery and, you know, hate the family with...
burning passion.
You have to have such such vitriol to, like, you know, obliterate them, so...
I think that's kind of, like, the reason why the emphasis on it kind of starts to fade out by episode 4. Like, episode 3 obviously have Eva solving it, which kind of shows what happens as a consequence to that and things like that. So, I mean, episode 3
She's
basically
such a-
telegraphs. Yeah, she solved it. The person who solves it is Beatrice. Because she literally is.
So one thing
In 3.
One thing that's really interesting about 3 is, it shows what happens when someone just solves it. Eva's murders are basic and kind of lame.
Yeah.
Because Eva's main murder with Rosa and Maria, shot and then strangled. And I'm like, where's the cool locked mystery? Oh, I get it. Because it was someone that just fucking found out.
Yeah, because
on the night.
it was all like
Was she shot
unplanned.
on the third one? Or...
Didn't she?
Was that the fence
Yeah, the fence one. I mean,
Yeah.
Okay,
it's
cool, yeah.
like it's more likely that she shot Rosa and then like impaled her like head. Wait, did she?
Gotcha.
Was that was the body just laid on the ground or was it?
I think it may be impaled. I might have.
It's
I'm a
either
little
we
rusty
could
on it.
when we get
on
there
the
we'll
exact
know.
moment.
But like I still
Yes.
think it's like that's why I think it's really funny that like there's a whole moment where Beatrice scolds Eva for like not making beautiful murders or something. I don't fucking remember. We'll get
there's
there.
no art to your killing, basically.
We'll get there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
I love that how we can like start at any given topic in episode 1 and it'll tangent off into any of the other episodes because there's a lot of connections to everything.
Yeah.
You have to look at this whole thing holistically,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
Which is the reason why I thought it was a good idea to have this section.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah. I keep trying to bring us back to like episode 1, but it'll keep bringing us back to other episodes because there's really good examples in the other
Absolutely.
ones. Eva's messy murders in 3 showcase anyone that solves it the night of couldn't have been the killer. Or they could be, but it'd be way more obvious. Like, how can you make a fucking locked room murder if you're like, hey, I'm Hideyoshi, I solved it tonight. Let's create an elaborate locked room murder.
I can't see him doing that even on the night of, honestly. He's just...
Even if he had a month.
I also
TBH.
think it's very
yeah.
funny in a way that was it brought up in like maybe EP3 where they were like, oh, maybe like if it wasn't for the reason that Kingzo was trying to find the one specific person that's in this mansion, that like essentially quote unquote Beatrice, like maybe he was also just trying to like write this epitaph to fuck with Cross and be like, hey, like, could you imagine your sister, like, Eva, solving this and then just getting all the fucking gold? Like, as in, like, it's just a taunt to Cross who, like, lives in that mansion every single day and sees this epitaph. Yeah. Like, I find that a fun... Like, I know, like, I'm not sure, like, if Kingzo would ever possibly feel that way because, like, Kingzo is kind of, like, a sexist ass, like, old man. But, like, in a way, like, he feels like, oh, he's like, well, I can't outrightly hand it to Eva, who's, like, the more competent and like smarter person out of the 2 like older siblings. Maybe I'll just write an epitaph and whoever solves it, and it's probably not Cross.
I think it was part of like Kinzo just being kind of a little bitch. Part of an issue that he had was how power vacuums occur when the main house and the branch house are trying to find a head. Power vacuums occur. So one, I wanted to think that he did not want to make any sort of decision because of what happened to him in the past. But also, it's just like, okay, if you solve this, you're done. That's it. Like, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And he didn't think too long about the implications of that, you know?
Well, and he also was really, like, hoping that would, his gamble would pay off and that his theory that,
He's playing a long con.
Shannon was... Yeah. I mean, one thing I found quite interesting is kind of the implication that he only really started putting that together once Canon was born, because he probably didn't even consider that the child, who was presumably assigned male at birth, given the way that they were treated, could be anything other than a boy.
Wait.
Hmm?
Wait.
What?
Wait.
What?
Wait. What if Rose's Beatrice?
That's what every...
So, think about, like, okay, so in episode 7, he talks about how he has 3 kids with his wife that he does not give a shit about. But also, in episode 1, it said that he wanted Rosa and Maria to be named very specific things. Why would he care at any given point what the names of the kids were?
Yeah, I did not think that you were gonna jump down the Rosa Triss line now.
I mean...
No, not Rosa Triss, just Rosa Kid.
Yeah, and if Rosa's a girl, so he wouldn't necessarily have wanted to emphasize the headship for her, unlike his assigned male and birth child.
They never talk. I mean, of course, they never talk about like Kinzo's wife having the fourth kid. They never really do.
I mean, they never really talk about
we don't
her
really
at
know
all.
where she comes from. We know the first three 100% comes from his previous wife. He's upset at that, but we don't actually know where Rosa comes from.
That's
She
very
comes in
true.
really
She's also
late
like
compared to
at
everybody
least
else.
like she seems to be at least 10 years younger than all of them. Like as in like when she was like
minimum.
when she was like young, like all of them were already college age or like already became adults. So she was like super bored, and that's how she accidentally maybe murdered her own mom. Who knows? ...
Wait,
What if? Wait, hold on. Here's a theory. What if they were all out of the house by the time she was born?
Ooh.
And Rose, how do we know where Rosa came from? Oh my god, I'm down the line.
I don't think
I'm
they
so
would have
sorry.
had as much time to bully her and make her miserable, though, if that was the case. I think they actually
that's fair,
bring up
that's
the
fair.
fact that they are living there and they're like going away soon, and she's really looking forward to that. But
yeah, wait. How old was the Corridorian Beatrice?
She died?
When Rosa ran into her. No, and how old? Yeah, when she died.
we don't know. It's kind of left vague. I think partially because it's like vague when her mother died, right?
Yeah.
It's
So,
kind of
really
so she
squiggly.
could be
All of this is
potentially
vague.
her mom. Oh, that's gross. I also wanted to point out, like, all the Ushiramiya ladies, or at least the daughters, they both have the same like bob hairstyle, like Beatrice. I was like, one of them's got to be something like that. Huh?
Exactly.
Okay. Alternative
Exactly.
crack theory. Rosa and Kuwadori Beatrice are twins.
Oh my. No.
No, I don't like that. 'cause that would-
wait.
She was a middle
Wait.
schooler.
Wait, but like,
No, that doesn't work because
We
Rosa's
don't
too
know how
old.
old they are.
yeah, exactly. I
She
feel
was
like
in middle
because
school.
clearly
Oh my God, you're right.
Beatrice the second is like super like fairly young, like as in like she could just. Oh no.
Wait,
That would make her 14.
no, because Beatrice II already gave birth to
I
a
don't
kid.
like that.
No, Beatrice II already
That's
gave
true.
birth to a
Exactly.
kid.
That would make her a
Yeah,
14-year-old
but that just
mom.
means that she's...
Okay.
That just means that she's had her period at some point. That means she could be
Oh.
hella young, potentially.
No,
that's too big.
stop.
I mean, yeah, that's part of the reason why I found it so cringy, because, like, I mean, she looks,
Sorry,
not that old.
I'm so sorry. I went down this rabbit hole. I'm so sorry we went down this rabbit hole.
That's
I guess is that a good place to
I
end
think
I'm
it
so
is.
sorry for this
Yeah.
crack theory.
Wow, we did it. We hit an hour, and we did the recap relatively quickly. So
Yeah.
no, but that's
just
so
dumb
weird and
theory.
interesting.
Hey, I mean, I made it worse, so, I mean, this is
It was
what,
a good thread.
I am
Oh
the
my
worst for
God.
crack theories, to be fair.
Guys,
No.
twinatrist.
I liked it.
I mean,
Anyway.
to add to that, a twin birth is much more likely to be a fatality than a single birth, so.
Is that good or bad?
It's bad. It's bad. Yeah,
Bad juju.
this is cursed.
Anyways,
Okay.
let's sign off.
So we're good
All
here.
right. Yes. Thank you for listening to us ramble. It was fun just shooting the shit about crack theories and stuff. I guess I'll sign off saying, "Sea cats do crimes." Anyone else wants to say anything else?
Twinatrist. I'll build on this. Don't worry.
Bye.
Yeah. Goodbye.